Chosen one. Something you lost is returning. Unexpected gain. What you lost returns. This moment is not a coincidence. The title that brought you here was meant to find you. It's speaking to a place in your heart that remembers what it feels like to have lost something precious. But even more, it's activating a deeper knowing that something is shifting in your favor. The things you thought were gone forever, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the people you had to let go of. A powerful energy is surrounding all of that now. There's a return in motion. Something lost is circling back, not by your force, but by divine alignment. Before we go deeper, make sure you watch this video until the very end, because every second is layered with truth meant only for you. And if this message speaks to your spirit, we invite you to comment your warmest wishes below and type 99, a number vibrating with universal completion and miraculous restoration. This is a chapter about wishes coming true and energizing the universe, and your voice matters in this moment. Chosen one, let's be honest, life has been teaching you how to release. It has trained you through silence. It has trained you through detachment. It made you let go of things you loved, trusted, and dreamed of. The letting go wasn't easy. You didn't do it because you wanted to. You did it because you had no choice. Some doors closed too quickly. Some people walked away without explanation. Some plans dissolved into thin air right before they could bloom. But there's something happening now behind the scenes that your heart can feel, even if your mind can't fully explain it. The universe is recalibrating what belongs to you. The very thing that once broke you is now becoming your blessing. That idea you abandoned, it's knocking again. That friendship that ended in confusion, it's being healed in silence. That version of you that got buried under pain and disappointment, it's returning with clarity and light. You see, this isn't just about getting something back. This is about the restoration of alignment. It's not a rewind, it's a rebirth. You're not being given the old version of what you lost. You're receiving the evolved, renewed, upgraded form of it. Because you've changed. And what's returning had to change too. This is why things took longer than you wanted. This is why you were delayed. It wasn't punishment, it was preparation. You see, the delay didn't mean denial, it meant development. What you lost needed time to grow. You needed time to unlearn. The space you were left with after the loss wasn't empty, it was fertile. And now, something is rising from that place, not as a replacement, but as a response. The universe is responding to your growth, to your surrender, to your faith. And that's why this return feels so unexpected, because you finally stopped chasing what's already yours. Read that again. You finally stopped chasing what's already yours. Now, the shift begins. Not because you're forcing it, but because you're finally ready. There are some things in life you had to release, not because they were wrong for you, but because you were being prepared for something more aligned. Some chapters had to close for the ink of your true story to dry. And what's returning to you now? It's not returning out of guilt, regret, or fear. It's returning because the time is now right. The energy is now clean. The alignment is now perfect. You aren't who you were when you lost it. Let that sink in. You're wiser. You've grown stronger. You've stopped begging for clarity from people who never knew how to explain themselves. You stopped shrinking just to keep spaces peaceful. You stopped abandoning yourself just to feel accepted. And that's exactly why restoration has been activated. Because you've done the work, not loud, not for validation, but in silence, in solitude. in the middle of the nights when you doubted everything and still got up the next day. The things that left you weren't always meant to destroy you. Some of them were simply assignments to shape you. And what's coming back to you now is aware of that change. It doesn't just see you, it recognizes you. It knows that your energy has evolved. It knows that your boundaries are different. It knows that your soul has been through fire and refused to burn. You are not asking for crumbs anymore. You're aligned with overflow. And this return, it's not loud, it's not dramatic. It doesn't come with fanfare. It slips in quietly. A phone call out of nowhere. A sudden apology. A surprising opportunity in your inbox. A dream that reappears in your spirit without warning. It feels so natural. It almost doesn't register. That's how divine timing works. It doesn't demand attention. It creates peace. That's how you'll know it's real. It won't come with anxiety. It will come with clarity. You'll feel the difference. Because now, you're not desperate for it. You're prepared for it. You're not begging anymore. You're attracting. You're not trying to convince anyone to see your worth. You are embodying your worth. And in doing so, you are becoming magnetic to every single thing that once seemed so far away. You've stopped looking back. And ironically, that's when everything starts circling back to you. They told you the past can't be undone. And they were right. But what they didn't tell you is this. The future can hold redemption for what the past took from you. This return is not about erasing the pain. It's about reclaiming your power. It's about honoring the version of you that survived the emptiness, the confusion, the quiet heartbreak. It's about giving that version of you a reason to believe again. You're not just getting something back. You're being shown that nothing truly meant for you ever disappears. It only aligns when you're truly ready to receive it. And chosen one, that moment is now. This is your confirmation. You're not delusional. You're not imagining things. You're not wrong for still feeling the pull of something you thought was over. That pull is real. Because it's returning. Because it still matters. Because it was never random. Some connections, some dreams, some paths, they're written deeper than logic. They're coded into your destiny. And when you finally align with the energy you were always meant to carry, they return. Not to repeat the old cycle, but to honor the new one. There's a moment in every chosen one's journey when the silence becomes so heavy that it almost convinces you nothing is ever coming back. You begin to question if you misread the signs, misunderstood the timing, or imagined the entire vision. But what if I told you that the silence wasn't a void? It was the incubation. The preparation for what you thought was lost, to find its way back without the noise, without the ego, without the baggage. The return was never going to be rushed. It needed space. The universe didn't forget you. The divine didn't abandon you. Life didn't rob you, it refined you. And now you're in a place of quiet power, a still strength, where you're not even seeking proof anymore, you're simply allowing. You're not forcing outcomes, you're flowing with alignment. That's why what you lost is making its way back now, because you finally stepped into the version of you that's strong enough to hold it without breaking. You didn't just survive the season of loss, you outgrew it. Think about it. The things that once made you cry no longer move you. The people who once controlled your emotions no longer have access to your energy. The fears that once froze you now feel like echoes from another life. You've passed silent tests, tests no one saw, tests you didn't even recognize at the time, but your soul did. And now, the reward for your internal evolution is this return. It's the return of your voice, the return of your vision, the return of your joy, the return of your confidence, the return of opportunities you thought you missed forever. But this time, it's all showing up differently because you're different, and your new energy is creating a different reaction from the universe, one that pulls things back to you, not in desperation, but in divine recognition. The story that once ended in pain is about to restart in power. And don't be surprised if people come back with more humility than you remembered. Don't be surprised if life starts handing you options that look like redemption wrapped in new skin. That's what happens when you master the art of detachment. You're no longer attached to the outcome. And that makes you a vessel for miracles. Because the universe doesn't need force. It responds to flow. Right now, something is aligning for you that was once lost. Maybe it was a dream that went silent. Maybe it was a friendship that fell apart. Maybe it was a love that had to walk away. Maybe it was a version of you that got buried under all the pressure and pain. But whatever it was, it's returning. Not as a repeat, but as a rebirth. It's returning with peace. It's returning with truth. It's returning with presence. And when it returns, you won't need to question it. You won't need to dissect it. You won't need to overthink it. It will speak the language your soul now understands. Calm. It will feel like something you've always known, but somehow see for the very first time. It won't require you to lose yourself again. It will ask you to bring your full self this time. The version of you that trusts. The version of you that listens. The version of you that no longer needs to convince anyone of your value. The version of you that no longer needs closure to move forward. Because you've become the closure. You've become the lesson. You've become the miracle. There's something powerful that happens when you stop mourning what left and start mastering what remains. You stop looking for answers in the rearview mirror. You stop wishing the past would knock on your door with explanations. Instead, you begin building a present that doesn't need justification. That's when the shift occurs. That's when the lost things, the truly yours things, start making their way home. And chosen one, the home is no longer a place. It's you. You've become the sanctuary. You've become the calm after the storm. You've become the person you once prayed would find you. So when something returns now, it's not just returning to your life. It's returning to your light, to your frequency, to your healed presence. And not everything that left deserves access to that. But you'll know which one does. Because the one that returns with truth will feel weightless, not heavy. It will feel like relief, not resistance. You're no longer in the place of begging for closure. You've outgrown it. That old cycle of asking why they left, why it fell apart, why it didn't work. That cycle is gone. You've realized that even unanswered questions carry purpose. Even the confusion has value. Because if you hadn't gone through that wilderness, you would have never developed the discernment you now carry. You wouldn't be able to tell the difference between an echo and a real call. You wouldn't be able to stand still when the storm tries to test you again. But you can now, because you've been through the silence and you didn't shatter. You've been through the loss and you didn't lose yourself. You've been through the emptiness and you discovered your own depth. And because of that, it's time. It's time for the universe to show you why it had to happen this way, why the delay was necessary, why the redirection was protection, why the separation was activation, why the breakdowns were actually blueprints. It all led you here, and from here, you are no longer returning to what you lost. What you lost is returning to you, and this time, you'll receive it with a whole new posture, not out of fear of losing it again, but out of clarity that if it aligns, it stays, and if it doesn't, you let it go in peace. Because you're no longer gripping life, you're flowing with it. You're no longer chasing certainty. You've become comfortable with the unknown, as long as your peace is intact. This is the unexpected gain. Peace over panic, alignment over approval, soul over survival. And the beauty is, the thing returning knows this. It feels this. It senses that you're no longer where you were. It realizes it's not coming back to an old version of you. It's being invited into something real now, something rooted, something whole. It's not showing up to test you. It's showing up to honor you. But let's be clear. Not every return deserves a welcome. Some things return to see if you still bleed where you healed. Some people return just to see if the door they once slammed can still be opened with a smile. But you're beyond that now. You don't need to slam the door or raise your voice. Your silence, your peace, your energy, that's your boundary now. And your discernment will speak louder than your emotions ever could, because you've changed. And what's truly meant for the new you, it will see that. It will respect that. It will match that. There's a sacred moment that comes when the weight you once carried is replaced with wisdom. When the ache that once broke you becomes a compass. When the silence that once haunted you becomes peace. You're walking into that moment now, slowly, quietly, powerfully, and everything that aligns with the new version of you, the version you built out of your pain, your patience, and your prayers, is being drawn back to your life in unexpected ways. This isn't the return of chaos. It's the return of completion. That dream you laid to rest, it's waking back up with new purpose. That relationship that shattered without closure, it's circling back with awareness. That vision that disappeared when you were in survival mode, it's returning with divine clarity. And above all, that version of you, the one you forgot about while trying to hold everything together, is rising again. Not weak, not uncertain, but grounded, wise, and whole. You've stopped trying to explain your value to people who were never meant to understand it. You've stopped offering access to your sacred energy just to feel seen. You've stopped giving your time to people who only knew how to take. And that shift, that powerful internal decision to no longer betray yourself, is what activated the return. This is why things feel different now, because you are different. This return isn't just about what's coming back. It's about what you'll never tolerate again. You'll never again apologize for your standards. You'll never again shrink to be understood. You'll never again abandon your truth to keep someone else comfortable. Because the return is not just a gift. It's a reflection of how far you've come. You didn't break. You bloomed. And everything you thought was gone for good. The connections, the chances, the opportunities, the answers, they're being magnetized back to you because you've finally aligned with the version of yourself that can hold them without being consumed. The version of yourself that won't sabotage it. The version of yourself that doesn't need to chase or explain. The version of yourself that trusts timing more than timelines, because you've realized what's truly for you doesn't rush you. It arrives in peace, not pressure. You won't need to perform. You won't need to earn it. You won't need to fight for it to stay. You'll feel its truth in your nervous system, in your breath, in the way you don't have to overthink, in the way it feels like remembering rather than learning, like returning rather than discovering. Because what's for you has known you all along. It just had to wait for you to come home to yourself first. And now that you have, the door is opening, not because you knocked loud enough, but because the lock always responded to your energy. And now, your energy is right. You're not carrying desperation. You're carrying destiny. You're not leading with fear. You're guided by faith. And in that space, the things you once lost recognize you again, because now they see the version of you they were always meant to meet. Chosen one, this is the season of alignment. Not effort, not exhaustion, not proving. Alignment, and in alignment, all things return. You've reached the moment where the story starts to make sense. The pieces that never seemed to fit are now forming a clear picture. Not because the pain didn't happen, not because the losses weren't real, but because you've grown into someone who now understands that nothing was ever truly lost. It was all being rearranged. Every delay was sacred. Every heartbreak was redirecting you. Every empty space was waiting to be filled with something more aligned. And now, the energy you carry is no longer calling in struggle. It's calling in stability. It's calling in clarity. It's calling in wholeness. What you thought was gone forever is finding its way back to you naturally, without the chaos, without the confusion, without the begging. You no longer need to run after it, because it was never truly running from you. It was orbiting, evolving, and waiting for you to rise into the version of yourself that could meet it with open hands and a steady heart. And here you are, present, aligned, ready. You no longer look like the version of yourself who lost it. That's why it's coming back now. Because it's not about the thing you lost. It's about the power you gained, the awareness, the confidence, the silence you sat through, the boundaries you built, the choices you made to honor your healing above your history. That is the version of you that attracts restoration. And this restoration isn't loud. It won't announce itself with drama. It won't seek to convince you of anything. It will simply show up, steady, undeniable, and rooted. Because that's what real alignment looks like. That's what divine timing feels like. It doesn't shake your peace. It amplifies it. So when it returns, that call, that opportunity, that connection, that part of yourself, receive it without panic. Don't compare it to the past. Don't analyze it into pieces. Just feel it. You'll know. Your spirit will recognize the return before your mind can even explain it. Because deep down, you always knew it wasn't over. It was just paused, protected, preserved for the exact right moment. And chosen one, that moment is now. You didn't lose it. You evolved into it. That's the difference. You didn't chase it. You aligned with it. That's the miracle. And from here on, you don't have to hold fear in one hand and faith in the other. Let both hands be open. Let both hands receive. Let your energy do what your words never could. Speak loudly without saying anything. Because you're no longer in a season of loss. You're in a season of return. A season of unexpected gain. A season where the things you had to bury are blooming in new soil. A season where everything you thought was too late arrives right on time. Not to repeat what was, but to redeem what will be. This is your sign. This is your turning point. This is your return. And from this moment forward, you'll never again confuse loss with lack. You'll remember that sometimes what you lose is exactly what you needed to discover what you truly deserve. You didn't lose, you learned. You didn't break, you built. You didn't fail, you were rerouted. And now, it's all coming back. Better, brighter, bolder. Let it return. Let it begin. Let it be yours. Sometimes the universe waits for the noise to settle before it delivers what's been reserved just for you. And maybe that's why it took time. Not because you weren't ready, but because the world around you had to fall quiet enough for you to finally hear your own truth. That truth has always been whispering. It's not over. It's coming back. Stay still. Chosen one, your stillness was a strategy. Your patience was a weapon. You didn't retaliate when you were misunderstood. You didn't fight to be heard when you were silenced. You didn't chase what didn't honor you. Instead, you made room. You allowed space. You stayed in alignment. You chose growth over reaction. And in doing so, you sent a message into the fabric of reality that you were prepared, not just to receive, but to sustain. Because getting something back is easy, but keeping it, holding it with grace, protecting it without fear, that takes a different kind of power. And that's the power you've cultivated, quietly, privately, faithfully, and now the reward is echoing back. You'll see it in small signs at first, the synchronicities, the dreams, the messages, the repeated confirmations that you are not imagining this. You're manifesting this. Everything that left you without warning is returning with reason. But it won't look exactly the same, because you've changed. And it had to. What returns now will reflect your transformation. It will meet you where you are, not where you were. It will speak your new language, the language of healed energy, inner peace, emotional clarity. It will no longer trigger your wounds. It will honor your boundaries. It won't feel familiar to your trauma. It will feel safe to your soul. And this is how you'll know it's the real thing. Not because it moves fast, but because it moves in rhythm with your peace. Not because it demands attention, but because it respects your presence. Not because it overwhelms you, but because it supports your capacity. It shows up, not to fill a void, but to pour into a vessel that's already full. Because you didn't wait in weakness. You waited in strength. You didn't pause your life. You built it. You didn't freeze time. You used it. You grew roots. You deepened your self-worth. You learned how to sit with yourself without needing constant validation. You built a home within. So now, what's returning doesn't find you searching. It finds you centered, rooted, clear. And when it arrives, it'll be the simplest thing in the world. It will fit. It will flow. It will feel like it never left, not because it didn't, but because it always belonged. Because what's real doesn't need to be chased. What's aligned doesn't require performance. And what's for you will always find its way, even if it has to travel through time, pain, and silence to do so. This is your season of divine proof. Not because you need to prove anything to anyone, but because your life is becoming the evidence. You are the result of what happens when someone chooses not to settle. When someone chooses to trust what they can't see. When someone lets go of what hurts, even when it breaks their heart to do so. And now the reward is echoing back in every direction. Quiet, unstoppable, certain. You won't miss it. You won't question it. You'll feel it. And this time, you'll know how to hold it. What's unfolding now isn't luck. It's alignment catching up to your timeline. It's the moment when everything you lost makes sense, not because it was fair, but because it was forming something greater. The broken plans, the missed chances, the unexplained endings, they were all part of a larger synchronization you couldn't yet see. But now you're beginning to see it, feel it, live it. You were never forgotten. You were being refined. And now the world is about to reflect what you've known deep within. You didn't lose. You were learning. You weren't delayed. You were developing. And now, what once felt like a setback is setting the stage for a return so meaningful, so full, so divine, that even your past will bow in silence at how perfect the timing really was. Chosen one, your glow now isn't loud. It's not boastful. It's magnetic. People feel it before they understand it. Rooms shift when you walk in. Opportunities soften in your presence. Doors open that once refused to move. Not because you fought harder, but because you stopped fighting and started flowing. You stopped proving and started embodying. You stopped grasping and started trusting. And trust is what called everything back to you. You trusted in what you couldn't see. You trusted your healing when it was messy. You trusted your solitude when it felt empty. You trusted the pain had purpose, even when it gave no answers. And now, you're about to watch how that trust unfolds. It's coming not in a flood of noise, but in waves of peace. The job, the call, the person, the clarity, the vision, the full circle moment, the quiet apology you never chased, but always deserved. It's all rising. Because you've risen. You don't need to explain anymore. You don't need to revisit what broke. You don't need to defend what you knew in your spirit all along. You knew something was still alive. You knew something would return. Not because you held on in desperation, but because you held space in faith. And now, your energy is louder than your past. Your peace is stronger than your pain. Your alignment is heavier than any fear. And everything that once couldn't find you is now being pulled back into your gravity. This is not about ego. This is not about being right. This is about divine orchestration, bringing back what left. Only better, stronger, clearer, whole. So when it shows up, you won't need to rehearse what to say. You won't need to calculate your response. You won't need to revisit the pain. You'll greet it with calm. You'll thank it for the journey, and you'll let it unfold, not because you need it, but because you're ready. You're not scared to feel anymore. You're not scared to lose anymore, because you know what returns in alignment stays in alignment, and what tries to leave again, you'll release it with gratitude, not grief, because you've changed, and that change is permanent. And now, everything is changing around you to match it. The energy is clearer, the path is visible, the calling is loud, the blessing is close. You're not the same person who once feared the silence. You've made peace with the unknown. You no longer need to control every outcome. You've learned to trust that what belongs to you will never require you to betray your intuition to keep it. That kind of trust changes everything, because it changes you. And now, the lost things are recognizing you. The people, the ideas, the dreams, the love. They are orbiting back into your field. But they're different now, because they had to take the long way back to meet the new version of you. The one who isn't moved by chaos. The one who doesn't confuse attention with affection. The one who no longer finds comfort in patterns that hurt. This isn't a repeat. This is resurrection. The kind of return you're stepping into doesn't come to test you. It comes to reward you. You'll feel it in how natural it seems. You won't need to prove your worth. Your energy will. You won't need to overextend. Your presence will be enough. You won't need to rehash old wounds. Healing has already spoken on your behalf, because the version of you that's here now is no longer chasing outcomes. You're aligned, and alignment always brings back what's truly yours. Even the things you thought you ruined. Even the things you thought were lost forever. Even the people you thought you'd never hear from again. Even the parts of yourself you thought you'd buried. Even the chances you thought you missed. They're all finding their way back. Not out of pity, but out of purpose. You are the center now. Not in a self-centered way, but in a rooted way. The way a tree knows it doesn't need to move. The rain will find it. The sun will find it. The seasons will shift around it, and still it stands. That's where you are now, rooted, steady, unshaken, and everything is coming back around to meet you there. You'll no longer be triggered by the noise. You'll no longer be pulled into cycles of almosts and maybes. You'll no longer mistake resistance for connection. You'll no longer abandon your boundaries to keep something that was never meant to stay. You are clear now, and that clarity is magnetic. You're not walking into rooms to be chosen. You're entering spaces already knowing you are. And that knowing is what draws everything back to you, authentically, quietly, powerfully. The thing you thought was lost didn't disappear. It was just being held for the right moment. A moment when you could receive it with open hands and an open heart. A moment when you could trust the return, not because you're desperate for it, but because you're finally equal to it. That moment is now. Chosen one, this is it. You've walked through the fire. You've cried behind closed doors. You've had to release what you weren't ready to let go of. And you've stood still while everything around you shifted without warning. You've questioned your strength in the dark. You've begged the universe for a sign. And now, this is your answer. This is your full circle moment. This is your return. You didn't just survive, you transformed. The universe never removed anything to punish you. It only cleared space. Space for what's real. Space for what matches your energy. Space for the return of what you never lost, only delayed. Because what's meant for you can never be taken from you. It can be paused, protected, redirected, but never taken. That's why it's on its way back now. Because the energy has shifted, the time has ripened, and you are ready. You didn't chase this. You outgrew everything that wasn't it. You stopped watering deserts. You stopped forcing what didn't feel right. You stopped looking outside of yourself for the very thing that was always waiting for you to look within. And now, the internal work is bearing external fruit. And it's showing up fast, quietly, without announcement, without explanation. Because divine timing needs no introduction. You may not recognize it at first. It won't always look like what you imagined. It may come in a new form, a new face, a new opportunity, but your soul will feel it. You'll know. You'll feel that quiet click in your chest, that sacred exhale you didn't know you were holding. It will feel like something returning, not something arriving, because your spirit has been waiting, not just hoping. And when it's here, you won't need to hold on tight. You'll hold it gently, knowing that what's truly aligned doesn't need to be gripped. It chooses to stay. It thrives in peace. It grows in truth. It honors you as you are, not as you perform. You've reached the place where you no longer confuse pain with passion, where you don't accept inconsistency just to feel connected, where you don't lower your standards just to feel seen. You've remembered your value, and that memory has power. You no longer beg life to give you what you used to want. You let life bring you what you now deserve. And what's returning to you carries that same evolution. It's not crawling back out of guilt or nostalgia. It's drawn to you because your current energy matches its highest potential. This is what divine reciprocity looks like. You've been calling it in, not with your words, but with your alignment. And now it's here. Let it in. You don't need to rehearse your worth. You don't need to explain your journey. What returns now understands. It sees you. It respects the climb. It honors the silence that shaped you. It values the light you carry. And it brings peace, not pressure. Support, not strain. Ease, not confusion. Chosen one, this is the blessing you didn't see coming. The kind that slips through the cracks when you're not even trying. The kind that enters when you've stopped chasing and started simply being. It's the reward for every night you didn't give up, for every moment you stood tall when you wanted to fold, for every silent prayer, every quiet surrender. This is your moment. And you don't have to rush. You don't have to post about it. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. You can just live it, breathe it, receive it. This is your return season. Not just the return of what you lost, but the return of who you are. Your joy, your clarity, your boldness, your softness, your trust, your creativity, your light. You get to feel safe now. You get to feel seen now. You get to feel supported now. You get to rest, because the fight is over. The resistance is clearing, and all that's left is alignment. And in that alignment, all things return. Better, brighter, balanced. So walk into it. Say yes to it. Smile at it. Because the universe just handed you back the keys, not to the old door you once begged to reopen, but to the new one you were born to walk through. Welcome home. It's yours now.